Where am I? The temperature is rising, from the biting chill to the howling flames. Isolated, but I am not alone. We stand together. Take this fight to a new battleground. The island. We fight fire with our own fire. Hear our war cry. Prepare for combat.
Hello and welcome to ExtremeE as the fourth round of this off-road electric racing series heads to Sardinia for the Enel Island Prix. My name's Andrew Coley, joining me as always is Jenny Gow, and reporting from the paddock with the latest news we have Caroline de Moraes.
Well, a region synonymous with motorsport, but recently blighted by wildfires, rising temperatures and extreme weather. So our drivers this weekend have the task of not only highlighting the climate, but also doing some exciting racing. Now, here's a reminder, if you do need it, of how the racing works in what is now becoming a unique championship challenge, and one that we are loving sharing with you.
The world's finest drivers have joined brand new teams to compete in the ExtremeE Championship. Each team will consist of one female and one male driver. The drivers will compete in Prix across the globe, each highlighting a specific environmental issue. An ExtremeE race consists of 2 laps. The male and female driver must complete 1 lap each. Each team has 2 hyperdrive power boosts they can activate on lap 1 and lap 2 of the race. Expect strategy and tactics. Over the course of an Prix, the quickest team through the Continental Traction Challenge collects a further 5 team championship points. Day 1 is qualifying and consists of 2 qualifying rounds. In each round, every team does 2 laps against the clock, with both drivers driving a lap each. In both rounds, there are qualifying points up for grabs, and this determines how they progress to Day 2 semi-finals and the crazy race. There are also championship points to be won, with the top team in qualifying bagging 12 vital points, down to the last place qualifying team, who will walk away with just 4. Day 2 starts with the semi-final, with the top 2 teams from each semi progressing to the final. The bottom 3 teams from Day 1's qualifying go head-to-head in the crazy race, the winner taking the last remaining place in the final. Grid play allows fans to vote for their favourite teams and drivers. The team that collects the most votes will get the first grid position pick for the final. But there is a twist. The teams that do not reach the final can donate their vote to any other team, with the winners of the crazy race, however, unable to receive any additional votes. The top 2 teams from the semi-finals and the winner of the crazy race will battle it out in the 5-car final. The team that crosses the line first wins the Prix and claims 25 championship points, with the following teams collecting further points in descending order. All 5 Prix count towards the team's championship, and in the Drivers' Championship, competitors can drop their worst Prix result of the season. Who has what it takes to lift the trophy?
Well, fair to say, as we look down at the paddock, that the drivers face a pretty different track and challenge this weekend. Narrow, bumpy, much more like a traditional rally stage. So let's see who came out on top in qualifying 1.
Well, the session started with drama for the championship leaders. Molly Taylor rolling on the second lap. Christopherson had a clean run. The car just got away from her on the brakes. Jenny, over it went again. She's becoming a bit of an expert, at least at the fast recovery, but not what she would have wanted.
No, not the reputation you can see here. It just digs in, an unfortunate roll for her. The car bounces back up, shows how amazing these cars are, that she just lost the rear end, and that's just bodywork. All good.
Segi TV Chip Ganassi Racing. Sarah Price was out first of the pair. Kyle Leduc waiting back in the command centre, but he wouldn't get a run because unfortunately Sarah just clipped this rock that was hidden behind the little ExtremeE sign. That is actually there to warn the drivers that there is a hazard, and unfortunately she came a cropper.
Veloce, they did a good job out there today. Emma Gilmore in the car again, once again deputising for Chadwick, and Sarrazin also out there. Now, they have picked up a €1,000 fine for not having a seatbelt connected properly, but no sporting penalty for them.
Carlos Sainz was absolutely flying. It was so impressive to see rear end of the car hanging off, but nothing would slow down the Matador. He was hanging it all out. Laia Sanz took over from him, and she did a fantastic job as well. Look at this line from Sainz down the hill. Pretty risky where Molly had gone over. No problems, though, for the Spaniard, and a brilliant time by the pairing.
Absolutely majestic to watch this Acciona Sainz team out there. And next up, the people that have really impressed when it comes to qualifying. You can just see this bit where Christine Gutierrez gets a bit caught up, spins it round, takes out some hedgerow, definitely slowed her down, applying the handbrake to get out of the situation, but out they got and still set a really blistering time.
Yeah, Gutierrez swapping over with Sebastian Loeb. Loeb with a little bit of a deficit at the start of the lap. Look at this, on an absolutely massive push. It was wonderful visually, the entire run. Into all the water splashes he used on the exit here, the hyperdrive. This was him setting the fastest time in the traction challenge by some 2.76 seconds. It was an incredible run, fully committed.
Yeah, it really shows what you can do when the team come together and work so well. They'll be hoping to carry this luck on throughout the weekend. They want to claw back some points on championship leaders Rosberg X Racing.
I'm in the paddock, joined by X44's Sebastian Loeb. Sebastian, great qualifier. You're leading again. How important is it to get the gate pick here with so many line options at the start?
The start is not easy. Okay, now we all watch what everybody is doing and try to analyze which line is the best, because it's a few options, and it's not like last time where you can just go a bit left or right. Here you have to choose one track and to follow it until the first gate. So now we all analyzed a little bit. I think we know nearly which one is the best, but it will be more complicated in the race, because if you cannot get the gate, the line you want, you will have to discover a bit the other lines, and that will make it a bit complicated, I think.
And so what is the aim for Quali 2? Is it to close that gap with RXR?
Yes, for sure, because Quali 1 gives you some points, Quali 2 gives you some other points, and then the total of both Quali gives you the position and the championship points. So it's important now that we confirm in Quali 2 and that we do another good Quali to win the total of the Quali. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit early to count the points. We will try to do our best in the next run, and we'll see where we are at the end of the day and then at the end of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Well, ExtremeE hasn't just attracted the best off-road drivers in the world. Some of Formula One's biggest names are also invested as team owners. Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, and of course, Jenson Button.
JBXE, founded by 2009 Formula One world champion Jenson Button. In round one, Jenson took to the wheel alongside Michaela Arlen-Kotelinski. In the opening round, they were plagued with issues during qualifying, with the car shutting down in session 1, as well as picking up a penalty in session 2. Despite a rough performance, they made it into the semis and still had a shot of making it into the final. Jenson struggled for traction off the line, and after the first few corners they were in last, and the gap to the cars ahead only got bigger, meaning they ended up with a 6th place finish overall in round 1. With Jenson unavailable for round 2, he brought in the young but vastly experienced Kevin Hansen to drive for the team in Senegal. 2 problem-free qualifying sessions saw them through to the semis, where the Swedish duo of Kevin and Michaela dominated to secure their spot in the final. After a great start from Michaela, contact on the start straight left the rear of their Odyssey 21 too damaged to continue shortly after the first turn. Having got the car further around the track than rivals X44, who also crashed out, they'd done enough to secure the 3rd step on the podium. Kevin Hansen retained his seat for the Arctic ExtremeE alongside Michaela, but their weekend got off to an awful start. With damage in Q1, meaning they couldn't set a time, and 2 punctures in Q2, they had to exceed their tyre allocation for the weekend and would have to serve a 30-second penalty during the crazy race in their fight for a spot in the final. A solid lap from Michaela saw her hand over to Kevin with a decent gap to Excite Energy in second. As Kevin served their 30-second penalty in the switch zone, he watched Oliver Bennett take the lead for Excite Energy Racing. Kevin finally came out in full attack as he closed the gap to the Brit ahead. Hansen's managed to make the pass through. Oh, there's a car problem. With the team securing an epic comeback victory, they were through to the final. Kevin took the start and battled hard throughout the lap, handing over to Michaela in 3rd place. After RXR ground to a halt, she moved up to P2, securing the team's 2nd podium from 3 races. Can JBXE go one step further this time out and become our 3rd race winners?
Well, here are the top qualifiers after round 1 here in Sardinia. Top of the table, X44. P2 is Acciona Sites, and in P3 we've got Veloce.
So we're all set. Qualifying 1, done. We know who was fastest, but who is going to impress when it comes to qualifying 2? Who's going to collect more points? Who's going to challenge for this championship title? It's round 4, and it's time to get everything underway for qualifying 2.
Seconds.
Red light at the moment, but it will go green in just a moment. Christine GZ, as you can see there, the shades on now, the sun fully up, and she's doing a bit of the Timmy Hansen, just giving herself a punch around the chest, getting her psyched up and ready to go. Ollie Bennett in command centre, looking quite relaxed, actually ready to go, isn't he?
Few seconds until we release cars. Looking for that green light, there it is. And Christine GZ gets Q2 underway, reaches down to the dash, changes that setting that all the drivers change as they head off the line. And she's taken, I think, has she gone on the left line? And we've had a couple of chats, yes, she has. So we've had a couple of chats with drivers, and they're telling us that they do think the left line is quicker. So I think we can expect a lot of them to drop the classic line, as we were calling it, and go for the left line.
Yeah, so I've just had a message in actually saying that the driver's going for the left route off the start because although it's slower speed, it's shorter and quicker overall, means the other lane will be used for overtaking when it comes to the race.
There we go, that's what we figured would happen. We just weren't sure how long it would take to guess or to work out exactly which lane was going to be faster. Interesting, Christine, yesterday I messaged her and Ollie and said, look, how was your practice run? Ollie said it was fine apart from driving through the banner. And Christine was just sent back an emoji, and I was like, okay, cool. I was like, so what in particular is tricky about the track? And she replied, everything. So I think that gives you, with a lot of crying smileys, which gives you a good idea, doesn't it, of just how tricky it is. And Jenny, Q1 was hard, I think.
Yeah, really hard. And I think it physically a bit more demanding than some of the drivers were expecting it to be. So remember, this team didn't finish last time out, so they really need to go out there and maybe nurse this car around. Important for them to get an actual time on the board. It all went wrong when Christine GZ was in the car last time out, so they need to knuckle down and really try all they can to get a decent time. And they've seen everybody go out in qualifying 1, haven't they, Andrew? So they've learned a lot about where they can pick up time, what they should be doing, for example, like starting in a different lane. That's all learned.
Hyperdrive through there, that's the other thing they've been learning, of course, is where that might work. That's where we saw Katie Munnings use it in the first session, is on the run towards the traction challenge. Sebastian Loeb used it in here, in the traction challenge, after the wet. He was on the hyperdrive through this back section and was 2.76 seconds quicker. And this, of course, is Christine's only her second time through this part of the lap, isn't it? She had a little go yesterday in free practice, but lots to learn. Missing a session isn't just about the bad result, is it? It's about the fact that then you're missing the knowledge for the next one. Ekstrom was telling me that with the problems they'd had in free practice, he felt like this was his first fast run on the track in the last session. It all counts. They're looking for every little tenth they can find, and if you've been through a corner once, you recognise it and you go, I can do that faster next time.
Yeah, it's learning, isn't it? You accrue that knowledge throughout the weekend, and this is a really nice way of approaching a race format, isn't it? You've got a bit of shakedown, then a bit of practice, you learn a bit more, then quali 1, now quali 2, as you see, and then that all builds into that database that you can sort of lock into as a driver and a team for when it comes to the semi-finals and the races tomorrow.
I do like that shot of the water splash from the side. It's great, isn't it? Like, it really, water sort of 2-3 times above the height of the car. Through that twisty section. Still not too badly cut up, considering you can see there it's starting to rut a little bit, but not enough, I think, to affect the lap time in any critical way.
Yeah, those boulders on the left-hand side as well look lethal. If you just hit that wrong, you're in real trouble, but no such trouble here for Christine GZ. She's having a really good run of it, and this the nice straight bit into 21, gate 21, which you can really get some speed out. Look at that lovely approach.
She used hyperdrive there again, and I was convinced she'd used the hyperdrive on the first part of the lap, so maybe maybe not. Maybe it was just the tone of the motors at the first part of the lap that made us think that. Either way, seeing people exploring the various different options. We have seen people drive directly over that rough ground as well. I can't remember who it was that did it in the last session, but on the left-hand side on the run up the hill.
Yeah, I think it was at Cupra that maybe did that
yes,
in the last run out. So, yep, just always trying to look for improvements, gaining an extra 10th here, a 10th there, just coming up towards the blind summit. So many different challenges within this this race weekend. Oh, the rear end kicking up really nastily, just caught a little bit of a hole and pushed the car up. She wouldn't have wanted that.
No, bit of a wild ride. Coming up to where Molly had her instant in Q1, so on the brakes over the crest. It's quite rough, isn't it? It's not super steep, or certainly it doesn't look to us. It'll be the same old thing if we were there. I bet we were going, wow, it's really steep.
Yeah.
But it's very bumpy. Carlos Sainz had a slightly strange line down there as well, but got away with it.
It's a bit mogul run-esque, isn't it? And if you just catch one of those divots badly, then it'll tip the car, which is exactly what happened, I think, to poor old Molly when she went over. We've spoken to the team, she's fine, but not what she would have wanted, and the rest of the team's got to kind of beware caution on that now. So, Christine GZ setting a decent time, and she'll come in, slams on the brakes, gets down to 30. We'll go through to the switch zone. 45 seconds is the time, minimum time that they have to come in. They have to put the car into neutral, and there you can see teammate Ollie Bennett with a full face helmet, ready to get in.
She was late on the brakes into the switch zone there. Hopefully not too late. That's the rear end of the car getting fired up in the air. Maybe that's the reason they're not using the hyperdrive on that stroll. Okay, wow, from that angle it's much more spectacular.
Yeah, those they're sort of like ravines, aren't they, going across parallel to the track, and that's yeah, that's a problem for the teams if you just hit one badly. See if we can earwig in at all. Christine's going to go round to the other side.
Yeah, you sometimes see the other driver leaning in and helping with the belts. There she is this time.
Not too much chat, is there, between them? I was expecting a little bit more of a download, but Ollie knows what he's doing.
Not convinced the door's shut properly either. It's very hard to tell, but if it isn't, he might be getting a bit wet in there. Come the water splashes.
See, my car dings when the door's not closed. I don't think they've got that function.
No, they removed the dingers, as a general rule.
Too much weight.
Yeah, there's no dingers, no air conditioning, I'm afraid, mate. No seats for the kids in the back. You know, this is... in fact, talking of no seats, they've actually even taken the passenger seats out for this round and from now on, because the car is homologated as a single-seat race car. So they were like, you know what, we don't actually need the extra seats and harnesses in there. We'll take those out. And the minimum weight has been changed. There you go, full geek for you.
Yeah, 1,832 kilograms now, minimum weight.
I'm impressed by that.
Thanks.
I'm impressed by that.
I wrote it down.
Oh,
it's in my notebook. Don't be that impressed.
Okay.
I just read it out.
You were getting away with that.
I could have taken credit, but it felt a little unfair, seeing as it was just written down on my big notepad.
So Bennett with the full face lid on. He actually comes from a background of racing motocross prior to getting to rallycross and then ExtremeE as well. but he likes to wear a full face helmet.
Very dark visor as well.
Yeah,
isn't
it is. Yeah, those come in different tints. You see them sometimes in the clear orange, which gives you better definition in low light levels. So you might have seen some of the drivers would have been using that up in Greenland. But obviously, when it's bright like this, you want something which is more like sunglasses that people would be wearing at home.
Oh, lovely drift around there. There are some really nice opportunities to see the car drifting on this track, and it's a thing of beauty with such a loose top layer to this this round.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
And then underneath, really hard and compacted. That's the way that it is in Sardinia, and it really offers an opportunity to see some spectacular driving.
Ollie flicking the car around to the right-hand side. It's fairly twisty as well, I think, this circuit. I really don't think we're going to see much use of the alternate lines until we get to the racing. If you think that, okay, and as I say that, he's gone around to the right-hand side of the track this time and straddled the gully either side of it, trying to find the smoothest part of track possible to get the power down as quickly as possible. Once we get into racing, you remember Senegal, we didn't see anybody use any alternate lines, and then suddenly Carl Duke was using all the alternate lines to try and pass everybody in the crazy race, I think it was.
It's a little bit like poker. You don't want to give away too much at this stage. Hold back your information. Hold back what you think is going to work. If you don't feel that you need to try it out, then don't show everybody what your plan is for when it comes to race.
Bennett's really gone for it there, into the traction challenge, really gone for it. I don't know if he's been taking notes on what Loeb did through there. Going to have to get it slowed down for the left-hander. Nicely done on the limit of the brakes there, but he really fired it into the first of the water splashes. Through the left and the right in the middle, he's got the water splash at the end, which is the end of that challenge section. Fastest team through there in whatever section, whatever session, whatever driver, 5 championship points. And that could have a real bearing on things this weekend.
Yeah, there are some really close groups of drivers and teams when it comes to the championship. And with this being the penultimate race, I think everyone realises the importance, the significance of this weekend. You know, a DNF, not great for your championship chances at all. Car just hopping around a little bit. Looks quite skittish at that part of the track anyway, but you can see that close-up camera just showing, oh, well, that's cut up a lot more. That doesn't look so good.
Mistake there for Ollie, definitely. Not sure why, whether it was the cut-up track or whether he went to go the wrong way himself. So he missed the gate. I think he's missed gate 19. I think he's missed gate 19, because 19 was in the foreground there for us. Ollie's gone the wrong way. Missing a gate will be, I can't remember, is it a 10-second penalty plus any time gained? So that's a bit of a shocker, I'm afraid, for Excite Energy. Mistake by Bennett, that's the way it goes. He did say, if you remember, he was struggling with understeer in the previous run, and we'd said that we thought the rear end of the car was looking a bit loose, Jenny, so I agree with you on that. Maybe they've got it a little bit better set up for this one, but that's a bit of a shame. There you go.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's just one of those things, isn't it? On a track like this, it's really hard, and you can just see Ollie fighting this car all the way around, trying to give it as much as he can when it comes to acceleration, when it comes to giving it the full power, so that he can get as fast as he can. But it looks to be difficult to handle, this one.
I think he might be enjoying himself as well at this particular moment in time. You know, he's definitely decided not to leave a lot in the tank, hasn't he, through this section. Fires the rear end of the car up high again as he crosses that gully. Great stuff. Now, how quick's he going to go over the big drop at the end of the lap? He's late on the brakes, down the hill, gets away with it. I think you can come down there quite quickly.
Very direct line.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you want to keep the car straight, don't you? We saw what happened to Molly with a spin. Saw Carlos come down there. Carlos Sainz come down there a little bit sideways. Definitely preferable to just have the 4 wheels rolling in the direction. Lovely line from Bennett through that right-hander there. You saw him make an adjustment on the steering on the way in, just to change the line of the car slightly around the flag, and he absolutely nailed that. So good run by Bennett. Going to cross the line. And it's an 11:33.6. You know, in the session this morning, that would have been enough to put them in P5. No, P6, sorry, that would have put them this morning. Of course, they were a DNF in Q1. Here's another look at the moment with Ollie. So, to the right is, he goes through the, should have gone left. Yep, there we go. Okay.
Just realised it too late, didn't he? He realised that he'd missed that. These tracks, obviously, lots of options for when they're actually doing.
He's missed 2.
Yeah, that's going to be a big hit. Now let's have a look at Christine GZ going around with the drone, so I'll get a really good idea of the start for sure, because you can see that left-hand lane, which now the drivers are beginning to say gives you an advantage. It's not necessarily the best way, but it seems to be the fastest way through there. So that's the way they're all going. It's a beautiful shot, as you can see, with Sardinia in the background, an area really affected by wildfires and extreme heat. And GZ feeling things hot up as well in this championship. Didn't go well in the first session, but qualifying 2, things looking pretty good for her.
This is in the traction challenge. You can see they've come through the first of the water splashes. There's a little bit of a chicane in the middle. There's a couple of bumps as well. We've seen some people get the rear end of the car fired up really high. Sebastian Loeb, so fast through here. He actually used the hyperdrive within the section. Went about 2.75 faster than anybody. GZ, there's the bump which has fired a few rear ends of the cars up. I do love the drone shots. Look, it just gives you an idea, a scale of the size of these tracks. You know, there's 7.1 kilometers just for one lap here. So about 15K, just under 15K for the pair of laps together. There's the bumps on the exit, look, and then we can see how wide the water splash is again. Look how high too. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, really, really dynamic, isn't it? And this obviously not something that a lot of the drivers are that comfortable with when it comes to the water splash. The first time we've seen it in ExtremeE, and I'm loving the fact that we've got it now. This is where obviously Ollie went a little bit wrong. Christine nails it though. You'll see she flicks the car to the left over that little tuft of grass, then to the right, and then through past those huge boulders. You get a real idea how big they are there. She does manage to get through the gate. And then that's where Ollie picks it up the same sort of road, isn't it? Yeah, it was Ollie Bennett, her teammate, unfortunately chose the wrong route there on his run of the same thing. You can see again from the drone shots, we can see how confusing it is. Look how many different roads there are out there. So you're looking for the next pair of waypoint flags, and he got it a little bit wrong. Interesting, GZ there using the same line that Sebastian Loeb used and Carlos Sainz also. Rather than trying to hold it in tight on the apex for the road, just run it up the bank and carry the speed all the way through that left-hander. And now again, look, on the left-hand side as she comes through here, we've seen Kleinschmidt drove over that on the left, but they all then cut to the right here over the brush, and then again to the left. So, risk management, again, risk reward. How much time is this worth? How dangerous is it towards the car, the tyres, etc.? Great job. So this is the big kicker. You can see she's just about to approach it. The ravine coming across, and she really has to battle this car to keep it down. All 4 wheels on the track. There we go. Back end flicks up, but does well to keep it going and to keep the speed as well. So she's doing terrifically out there. Nice time on the board as she goes down this blind summit. Good stuff from Christine GZ. So X44, as we said, that purple colour, Lewis Hamilton's colour, waiting for the light to go green.
15 seconds.
Scott Elkins, our race director, reminding them 15 seconds. This man was an absolute master on his first run. What can he do in qualifying 2? It's time to find out. Green light, and away they go. Sebastian Loeb takes it off the line. Now this, the tricky section where you've got to work out exactly which line you want to take. Hearing from some of the drivers, that's not as easy as it looks. So we've gone with a left line this time. You can see the chevron board just saying to go left, then a right, and down to gate marker 2.
Yeah, that seems to be the quick line. Both cars so far have gone that way. It's a shorter distance, they reckon, though they over the dirt crest through there. We've had a couple of messages saying the track is degrading just a little bit out there. Bumps developing in places where they weren't before. Some of the bumps getting easier as they get ground off effectively. But very, very hard to pick a line through those first lanes as well. Some of the drivers have actually not managed to take the line that they wanted to take. Emma Gilmore told us that she couldn't take the line she wanted to take. Almost got lost. She said it's just so different driving it than it was walking it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to find out as the weekend goes on how the track evolves, and also, as you say, the problems and the issues that the drivers come across that they weren't expecting, and that is a huge one. If you haven't been able to pick out the line you want, you haven't been able to see it and identify it, then you're going into the racing tomorrow at a bit of a disadvantage, I'd suggest.
I think the thing is, even if you know what line you want, tomorrow you may have to change your mind based on what happens off the start. You know, which grid position you get based on either where you qualify or grid play, and then where you end up as a result of what happens on the run to the lanes. You get off the line and somebody sneaks in front. Do you want to follow them in the dust, or do you go for a different route and try and get a clear view? Loeb on another mission. Remember, only one car's gone, so this is comparing to Excite Energy, backing it in. Look at it, it's like a carbon copy of his first run, just so consistent.
Yeah, windscreen wipers on again as they take a splat into the water. That was a real belly flop, wasn't it, that time almost?
Jumped in as well as jumped out, didn't he? Is that a slightly different line than before? I think it is.
Yeah, definitely taking a right-hand line. Now, I don't know if that's because they were pushed wide, but they've definitely had to rejoin at flag 12 because it gets a lot skinnier there. No option if you're going to make that gate. You've got to go skinny.
I'm keen to see if Loeb's going after the traction challenge again, remember. And now another big cut. So going through the undergrowth there, they're revealing a few tricks on this run, aren't they? He's gone 2 seconds quicker, almost 3 seconds quicker than Excite Racing went through there. Loeb here heading. Can he beat his own time through the traction challenge? Amazing. Completely different Jenny. Nobody's done those lines so far this weekend.
Yeah, don't think he used the hyperdrive in that section. At least I didn't hear or see the signing for it, so...
He didn't, but did he have so much more exit speed through the water splash and going on the right-hand side of the road that he was actually carrying enough pace to match it? 40.3, yes, he's gone faster. So he's gone faster, 40.3. It was 40.6 before. Sebastian Loeb is getting the old genius hat on.
He really is just demonstrating, I think, the full potential of this, and it must be frustrating for the team because they've aced Saturdays. That has been their forte every time. They've been really good, but when it comes to the Sunday, they can't get reliability, consistency, whatever it may be, to actually bring home the big points. So it's fine going fastest here, and you look at it and you go, this is brilliant. But they've got to make it count tomorrow.
They have, but they're in such a strong position, aren't they? So he already had the fastest time in that section. They already had the fastest time in the first one. It's almost like, you know what, now I can risk it a bit. Look at the lines he's taking, Jenny. It's everywhere. I'm imagining the conversations in the paddock right now. How many people are looking at a monitor and going, did you see that? You see the line? We're going to do that line. Talking to the other driver going, did you see the line? You need to take that line.
Straight through the scrub, isn't it? Almost using that to give the car some traction and take away that top loose layer of sand that they've got and go, no, there's actually, look, even now they're doing the same thing, going through the scrub, trying to pick up more speed.
Trickiest one is for Andretti United. You've got Timmy Hansen, who I think, did you say Katie's in the command centre? So I'm trying to think who'll be taking the start. No, it will be Katie taking the start. So, so if they are already installed in the car, they won't have seen this line. So now you're into being on the radio and going, the quick line is this, and trying to describe it. Very, very difficult indeed.
I was going to say, that's really tough to be able to do. So look at the speed, just Sebastian Loeb coming in, slows the car down quite nicely. A little bit early, but that's fine. Puts on the pit limiter, and you can see there, Christine Gutierrez just waiting for her teammate. And just look at this different line then. We're getting a replay of exactly what they do.
So through the water splash, he's carried extra speed. We saw that because he jumped into and out. He's completely ignored the road to the right of your shot. He now comes in. This is a better line through that gate, makes the corner less tight. His exit speed is then more. He now goes through the scrub on the right-hand side, maybe in this very next section here. And somehow avoids the bump, which earlier on, there it is. Do you see? He's managed to avoid, I think, the bump that was kicking the rear of the car up. Absolutely genius work by them. Did they keep that a secret in the first session to reveal it now? Or did they spot that from looking at footage?
Yeah, I reckon the latter. I don't think you'd give away your game card now.
No,
necessarily, unless you'd want to try it and maybe just go, okay, is that faster? Let's have a look at it now.
Definitely multiple lines through there now. So there are 2 lines. We could see cars side by side through there. If they can get side by side through the water splash, we know we're getting into race mode now, me and Jenny. We're getting excited about tomorrow. I love it when teams get tactical, you know, when they go, we've done something clever. That's my favourite thing, is when you go, that's clever. I love it.
Yeah, it's that way of thinking, isn't it, that's totally different. So Loeb puts in a time of 4:22.537, hands over the baton to Christina Gutierrez, and I'm fascinated to see what she can do around here. They've again gone with the tactic of windscreen wipers full on. That is a messy looking car, but let's hope her lap is anything but messy.
Sebastian discovered some wider alternative lines there, and you've Christina a huge time advantage.
We know that we are driving nearly first on the road and can be a bit of road cleaning. So I try to push very hard to try to gain as much time as possible. We'll see at the end. Maybe they can be faster, but I did a really good run again.
You did. Thank you.
A little bit of interference there on the line all the way from Sardinia, to be expected sometimes, but you could definitely hear him saying they were pushing a little bit wide, pushing very hard to give Christina as much of an advantage as they possibly could.
He said about road cleaning as well, so what he means there is that the loose surface comes off the top and you get down to the bedrock, so he is expecting it to get quicker. And that's from all his years of rally experience. That's a rally thing, is where you're running on the road. Are you running at the front and sweeping the loose gravel, or do you get the clean road further back? Tactically, you like to run, say, car 4 or car 5 in rally on the loose, just to get some of that loose surface away from the top. So he's had to push hard. He's expecting maybe some of them will go quicker, but with the result they had in Q1 and how quickly they're going here, Jenny, you know, I'm not betting on anyone other than X44 to take the top qualifier spot again right now.
Really interesting listening to you talking about that, because obviously the possibility to get that fastest traction challenge section is going to improve then if we see the track improving and the speed improving across the race weekend. So yes, they're setting the fastest time now, but points only paid after the race tomorrow.
Yeah, but then can you do it in traffic? Can you take the ultimate line if you've got traffic with you? Is it only going to be available to the leader? You know, stuff can change, can't it? And he took that such a different line. He didn't even drive on the road, did he? It certainly wasn't clean where he drove.
So I want to see what they do now. If this is a team tactic or something that Loeb has identified himself. So you can see the track that Loeb took. No, Gutierrez is sticking to the track that they did before. So the usual track as well, we'll now call it.
Look how much she has to brake to make the left-hander compared to Loeb's line through there, which was outrageous. He then cuts across. We might have to move our cameras if they get too alternate with their lines, might we?
Carried so much speed into that, didn't he? And I don't think it was as quick for Gutierrez, just because of the line that everybody else has taken, she went with.
Rear end of the car kicked up as well, yeah, definitely. So they'll look at that. If that's a better, to me, Loeb's line looked like the car was much less unsettled. He matched the line, the time he'd got previously using the hyperdrive on the standard line, so that must mean the other line, the alternate line, is quicker.
Intentional?
Yes.
Do you think? Definitely
100%.
intentional?
Yeah, I'm
wasn't it a mistake that pushed him to go wide and then he just carried on going?
Potentially, but if it was, they've discovered something very special, you know, all of a sudden. He made, if he knew about it, he certainly made sure not to mention it in the interview, didn't he?
We'll get Caroline to go down there
and quiz him.
Yeah, do a cross-examination.
Be hiding somewhere at the back of the paddock, knowing Sebastian, and just go and ask him. Go on, let's find out.
Either way, he'll go, of course I planned it.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, or just play completely dumb. No, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I didn't.
Hyperdrive there deployed for Gutierrez as she goes up to waypoint 21. This the point that is more typical for them to use that boost of 4 seconds of extra power. Hard on the brakes though to turn into that left, so cutting the extra usage, I suppose, just a little bit short.
4 seconds of extra power gave them 3 seconds of extra time. It's killing it on the timesheets right now. Here's that section where we saw Kleinschmidt making the cuts earlier on. They are getting braver across, and you can see areas getting ground down. Another cut through to the left.
So the time they are chasing down is the lap time of GZ and Bennett. That hasn't had any penalty put onto it. We know that they missed 2 waypoints, but the time they are chasing down, you can see they have a spade full of time at the moment, almost 45 seconds ahead of the Excite Energy pairing. My word, they come with a huge reputation, these two drivers, and they are delivering today.
Yeah, we can't really make a comparison, unfortunately. Well, we can make a comparison to their Q1 time, but obviously not in comparison to where they were against Excite. I was thinking we could use Excite to benchmark whether they're pushing harder or not, but we can't because, of course, they didn't finish Q1. But Gutierrez coming down now towards the flag. Their time in the first session was a very impressive 11:05.1. I think it's about to be beaten by about 15 seconds. There it is, 11:45. They've gone 20 seconds faster than they went. Remember, Christina Gutierrez had a spin in the first one. That maybe accounts for 10, but the other 10 is pure speed. Brilliant, amazing drive by both drivers. No mistakes this time. New line from Loeb, an extra little edge on the traction challenge. They're looking on for top qualifier to me.
Have they given away too much though? Have they given away information to other teams who'll suddenly go, aha, that could work for us? It's fascinating that they've done that right there and then.
I think the fact that they already had a P1 from Q1 means they can risk it. So they've got a 1, and at the minute they're sitting in first. You know, the only teams that are really going to bother them because they're so quick are going to be the ones directly behind. So we need to watch out for the times of Acciona Science, Veloce Racing and Apt Cupra. I think they're going to be the ones that could threaten.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
30 seconds until Andretti United begin their run. Katie Munnings is in the car. Timmy Hansen in the command centre. There he is waiting. Have they had time to communicate to Katie about those different lines? Has Timmy seen them? Do they think it's on? You know, do they think it works for them? Maybe they have a different tactic. Which way do they want to go off the start? So far, everybody's gone left in this session. Are they going to do the same? Here we go. Katie releases the car from the line. Andretti United into Q2. And she's gone left. No, she's gone right. So they've gone the more traditional line that we saw in the first run. Now, of course, this is the first time Katie started the race, Jenny. Last time she would have come from the switch zone. So actually the drivers aren't getting 2 bites of the cherry, so to speak, as to look at those lines. They're only getting to start it once before they have to race into it tomorrow.
Worth mentioning as well that if they can make it through into the finals, she'd be the one that was starting the final race. So these are the key moments for her to really identify what she wants to do if they can get into that section tomorrow, because she's going to have some pretty fierce competition on either side of her.
She did a great job at the start, if you remember, in Greenland. Really a fierce competitor herself there. She's done a bit more rallycross since then, been over to America and done some side-by-side racing, so a bit more experience of that. But actually here, I'm not convinced that the start experience is so important because of those multiple lanes.
Because they won't be sort of banging into each other. They won't have to force each other off track, or they'll have to do it even more because they're both fighting for the line. And if you lose, you're going to lose big time.
I think it's not going to be what we, you know, the argy-bargy long run. You think all our starts have been long, fast runs down to a braking zone, and this one is not that at all. It's a very different start, multiple lanes through. There'll be a merge at some point where they've all got to get into each other, but you'll be looking at a merge with one car, potentially not with 5 into a braking zone. So maybe the start's not so important, but Kate's been gathering that experience for starts as well.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Whatever happens, I can't wait for the racing to get underway tomorrow. 5 cars will take to the track for the final. Make sure you join us for that, but we are in qualifying too. Remember, points are paid out for today's order that they finish in. Oh, bit of sideways action there for Munnings. Don't think she would have wanted to do that 100%.
It was more sideways maybe than she would have liked to be, but she was hard on the throttle through that section. Great job. Into the splash out wide. Now, what line does Katie take here? Are they going to go for the low line? Yes, I'm sure she's gone on the low line. I think she, yeah, you can see in the background the road. No, she hasn't, so she's gone standard line as well.
It gives us just something to think of. She was also quite heavy on the front left, I think, when she went into that splash. So,
oh, the camera's gone. I said we were going to have to move it.
It got moved. Sometimes the drivers do what they want to do when it comes to those cameras. Clearly, she thought there was a better position for it. She knows a thing or two about TV shows.
She does indeed. What a shame she's not doing Katie's Amazing Machines now, eh? Because this is another amazing machine, isn't it, really, this one?
Could see that actually having another resurgence at some point in time, but we'll see what happens. They're doing a great job with it anyway. But yeah, Munnings now fully focused on her racing career. Is she going to deploy that hyperdrive in a moment's time as well? Let's see what she does. But looking very comfortable in this car, really finding her feet. This is the 4th event, of course. And now I think the driver's having a level of maturity with the car.
She's looking really confident through there, transitioning the weight of the car nicely from side to side. I felt they dialed the setup in much better in Greenland. They had zero confidence in the car in Senegal. If you remember, both of them said, I cannot drive this car over the bumps. The team were insisting that the setup, okay, hyperdrive through here, insisting the setup needed to stay as it was, and it was only when they went in the final and they could see that the other teams were all over them that I think they realised, yeah, actually, they can't take the bumps the same way. Now, whatever they did in Greenland obviously worked in spades for the confidence of the drivers because they won.
Yeah. Yeah. So the time in the bottom corner, you can see the number 2. They're 22 seconds down, but remember they are 22 seconds down on Sebastian Loeb, and the most phenomenal run that we've seen across the weekend so far. So actually, okay, Katie's losing a little bit of time, but she's losing time to Sebastian Loeb. Understandable.
Yeah, I'm trying. Who went first? Was it Loeb or was it? It
Loeb.
was Loeb. Yeah, it was Loeb. So yeah, you're right. So exactly. So Timmy's now going to go up against Cristina Gutierrez this time, and we'll see whether or not it gets it equalled out. Gutierrez has been really, really fast, and I think it's fair to say that as a pairing, well, they're unbeaten, aren't they, in qualifying? They've taken that top qualifier spot, X44, at every event. They just haven't managed to convert it. Katie's having a good go, isn't she, at taking it herself? Of course, they were P7 in the first run after Timmy had a problem with the power steering. So a good run here will see them fly up the leaderboard.
Yeah, and Katie delivering all she can, just taking a little extra rim there, a little bit of scrub. Windscreen wipers are still on, but that's no problem. She can do the whole run with the windscreen wipers on. She doesn't have to turn them on at any point. 30 seconds down now on Loeb, but still up on the timing of the Excite Energy pairing. Oh, she just got into a little bit of a rut then as she put the brakes on to slow down for the switch zone. It's a little uncomfortable, didn't it?
That will have been dug out by everybody braking to that point, and it's just getting to the point where the end of it is really deep. Timmy waiting patiently for his turn.
Have you ever dislocated any part of your body?
Touch wood, no, but...
Do you want to? I can't imagine what it feels like. Timmy Hansen,
yeah.
in the last run out, they didn't have their power steering, and he managed to pop out his shoulder 3 times. Must have popped it back in. It's an injury that he's had, but exacerbated it a lot more. So he's going to take to this car, and it's going to hurt. Surely going to hurt.
If he popped it out 3 times, yeah, he could be in significant pain. We'll have to find out. Apparently he's been a bit of a trooper about it, and he finished the run. Obviously he had no power steering. If he's got power steering this time round, that's going to be a big assistance. He certainly doesn't... Hang on.
The steering feels a little bit light, I think. Yeah. A little bit light. Yeah.
He's got to get his hands device under those belts, or they're going to get a big fine. They've managed to do that. It was €1,000, wasn't it? Was it Stefan Sarazan that got fined €1,000 for not having his hands device correctly under? All the comms are in, belts are on. Katie mentioning that the steering feels slightly light. That's the total opposite. There's Susan Hanson in the background with a phone in the air. That's Timmy's mum.
Family support, love it.
And herself, a European rallycross champion in her class.
Now they're leaving the wipers on, I thought just because it's easier, but apparently it helps to minimise a loss of power steering. So the team just getting in touch to tell me that's why they're leaving them on.
It's very interesting, isn't it? That's, I have no idea why that would be the case, but I think the teams are figuring things out with these cars. It is only the first season, and there are lots of things to be figured out. That's a different line there. So you see that you're not taking that inside line. You're going through the gully on the outside slowly and then carrying a bit more speed. So more and more lines being revealed to us.
Those shots really interesting, is it, with the little green dots that show you the different options that have been taken so far. So we're loving that. Thank you very much, Mr. Direct. We'll have as many of those as you can show us. They're good.
What's that hanging off the side of the car? I saw Katie go off to the right-hand side, and of course she also took out the camera. So it looks as though she's taken off one of the rear-facing cameras. She has. So there are actually 2 little screens behind the steering wheel which act as wing mirrors. So there are wing mirrors on the car, but there are also backward-facing cameras on the front quarter of the car, which look back and show you what's either side of you. And I think Katie's managed to remove the one on the right-hand side. And you can see the traditional mirror is flapping about as well. Now you don't need the mirrors when you're not racing. You see it there jumping up and down on the right-hand side of the car.
I would imagine that happened when she was just approaching that water splash zone and went wide, took out the camera that was on the floor, and probably took out her own camera on the car as well. As you say, not needed. A little bit of cosmetic damage, but won't certainly affect any of their timing issues at the moment.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Poor Hanson's trying hard, isn't he? 25 seconds down. So he and Katie both used the handbrake in that right-hander. We saw Sarazan do that earlier on today. Just locks the rear wheels, helps rotate the car in what is obviously a tight 90-degree corner. Oof. Yeah, he's trying hard here. Right, what line does Timmy take? Hyperdrive. So Timmy Hansen using the hyperdrive for Andretti United and the alternate line. So can he now challenge the time of Sebastian Loeb through the Continental Traction Challenge, gone for both the line and the hyperdrive.
Yeah, it was a 4.3 that Loeb managed to do, so we'll keep an eye out on that and see if he manages to go faster. Just getting news that he might have missed a waypoint, so we'll get back and check whether he did miss a waypoint, because that would be a penalty. Couldn't see it on my screens, but we'll get someone to check it, and you can see there, wasn't fast enough to challenge for the Traction Challenge, but it's coming through now. Let's see the timings. I went too early.
Is it up there or not? How quick was Hansen through that section? It hasn't updated, so does that suggest that he wasn't close to those times? Not sure.
There we go.
P2 though, 2.29. Loeb is absolutely brilliant through there. Looked like the second half of it to me that Loeb was faster through the left king, but then that's, you know, if Loeb's been eyeing that line, he may have known what he wanted to do, whereas Timmy's maybe had to feel it out. He
Got
also
more bounce on it, I think, as well. The car didn't look as planted as when Loeb went through that
could be
section.
settings, yeah, so the X44 machine may just be a little bit more dialed in.
Going wide here, though, taking a very different line, going really wide as they try and take the mark point into 21.
I'm loving the exploring that's going on, and they are gaining another second taken off. So now within 17, taking 8 seconds out of X44's time in this part of the lap.
Yeah, that looked like it really worked. And the middle section in the Traction Challenge, I'm not sure they nailed that, but that section looked like it was maybe a bit more planned, and they'd worked on that ahead of time.
Five championship points, Jenny. I'd be thinking about using... Oh, he's made a mistake there, run a little bit wide, have to wait slightly longer on the throttle. I'd be thinking about whether or not you know, do you want it tactically? Is there anywhere tactically to use it to overtake? Because if there isn't, you might as well have a crack at that every single time you go out there. Have a crack at trying to beat Loeb's time through there for those 5 points. Remember, Andretti United P3, I think in the standings they are. And just a few points and they'll be closing down the championship leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. They're on 71 points, 84 for Gutierrez and Loeb, and 93 for Christopherson and Taylor.
18 seconds down, that's not going to come back in these last couple of corners, but this will give us an indicator of where they might have been in Q1 were it not for those problems. Hansen approaching the last couple of gates now, over the crest on the right-hand side, going to go over the crest on the left and carry the speed down this straight to the finish line. And the time is 11:04.1. Now, in Q1, that would have been enough to win the session. So that gives you a very good idea. That would have been a 1 second faster. Remember, Gutierrez had a spin. Would have been 1 second faster than X44 in Q1. But, so Timmy Hansen apparently clipped a flag we're taking a look at now. If he knocked it down, it will definitely be a penalty. If it just moved, I think that's probably knocked down. But if it... on board, you wouldn't know, would you, on board?
Definitely got hit,
yeah.
We know that much. So question mark there whether they get a penalty there. Looking at it as well, we shall have to wait and see.
Great time either way.
Acciona Sainz taking to the track next. And it was up to Leia Sands to go out there and set a blistering time. Now, she did it in qualifying 1, really impressive out there. She managed to set the second fastest time for her point on the lap. So could they do it again? What could Leia Sands do in that car? Getting a bit sideways on action, and actually it was too much sideways action. And I think at this point, they had an issue with the steering, which meant it was a fight all the way around.
Yeah, hard work for Leia Sands, definitely. Little reset on the car to try to get things working again. But she came in and said it felt weird. Carlos Sainz obviously agreed at the changeover point. He jumped into the car and had a few issues with it himself. I think Sands did well. You've got to keep your chin up when this happens. You've just got to keep the car going, get it back. We've seen anything can happen. The old never give up is super true in this championship. Lots of people have had little problems. We've seen people have crashes and offs and things. So just set a time if you can. This is where Sainz knew immediately, no, I can't do the run like this. If we're going to try to take maybe the time in the Traction Challenge, I'll try a reset. That didn't quite go according to plan either. And in the end, Jenny, was just bring it home.
Yeah, and that's what they did. They went out there, they tried to have a little play around with the settings. They certainly took some different lines. They took, I'm going to call it the Loeb line, just after the first water feature. So they went wide, you can see here, going out towards the flags. And just on track here, just bumping around a little bit. You can just see the car very responsive A little bit fussy, but Sainz going through this second water jump out the other side, and I think that's the most gingerly we've seen it taken.
Water can have a big effect on the angle of your steering when you hit, so you've got to hang on tight if you want to keep the car going the way you want it to go. So hang on tight, Sainz and Sands did on their run, but it is not a great time thanks to technical issues. On board with Sebastian Loeb in the X44 machine. Coming up now to one of those water splashes, I think. Going to drop in here. This is into the traction challenge. And are we now going to see that alternate line that he took? So he went across to the right-hand side. Here it is. So this was when he went 0.3 of a second quicker than he'd already gone on his first qualifying run.
Yeah, this is fabulous to be able to see the onboard alongside the shot from wide and our drone, so you can really understand what he's going through. And if your brain can work quick enough to process it, it's got to work as quick as Sebastian Loeb's. So as you say, going the alternate line, and then again here, going wide and taking another alternate line.
That's the one for me, Jenny, that I think the other competitors have missed so far. As he goes through that right-hand side of the line, he misses the big kicker, which is in the middle of the road. Only 0.3 quicker than he went on his first run, but don't forget he was already 2.7 seconds faster than anyone else through that short section of track. It's a really masterful performance at eking out every possible 10th of a second.
Yeah, and it's something that the other teams will be studying in absolute detail to try and work out what he did, why he did it, how he did it, and how much time he was able to gain from doing it. Such an impressive run from Loeb. He's had an absolutely brilliant Saturday.
Riding on board with him, but also seeing the drone shots, I think you get a much better idea of the driver's view compared to what we see. We see something like, well, why aren't they doing this? Or he could do that. But when you're sitting low down in the car, admittedly these aren't as low as some race or rally cars are, you're just seeing the terrain completely differently than we are from 30, 40 meters up from a drone.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers saying very hard to pick out and distinguish the right line that you want to take because of the terrain. Very tricky conditions out there, but Loeb, you can see the dust coming up behind him. It's an absolute thing of beauty.
I'm loving the inputs. If you watch his steering inputs, despite the maximum attack, despite the incredible times he's setting, the steering inputs are rarely more than sort of 40 degrees in either direction. It's really very impressive indeed. It's nothing less than we would expect from a man of his caliber. I mean, he is the most successful rally driver of all time, after all, but it's just wonderful to see him at work.
Oh, isn't it just? Windscreen wipers flapping away, but you just look through those. They don't really bother you when you're in the driving seat and you race to the line. And you can see that extra wide line just carrying so much speed into the angle as you change to do that 90-degree right.
Look at the road he uses on the entrance and the exit. He's seeing just a little bit more road than the other drivers are seeing, and that's allowing him to carry that pace. Super late on the brakes as he came down then towards the switch zone, and at this point he had done a huge amount of damage to everybody else's hopes of beating X44 in qualifying today.
So let's get it on again. It's JBXC and it's Michaela Arling-Kotelinski, the first to take to the wheel.
15 seconds,
You can see
15
Kevin
seconds.
Hansen there in the command center, just watching and waiting on. 15 seconds, says Scott Elkins, our race director. So all eyes on the green light, all eyes on race control to see when this Odyssey 21, numbered 22, can take its start. And there we go, off Michaela Arling-Kotelinski goes. She just had a quick fiddle with the dash, make sure she's in the right setup to take the start after the initial traction point. And look at her go. Hard to tell which line it is. I think she's gone for that left-hand line, and then the kink. Yeah, because we saw the little chevron board there, so she'll go down to the waypoint 2.
So we're joined from the paddock by Christine GZ. Christine, I'm really keen to know, I know there are a number of settings on the dashboard and you guys are able to change those during the run, but everybody changes it from the start into the start of the lap. So give us a basic idea of roughly what they're doing.
Yeah, so basically you have a strategy obviously with your team, with your engineer, and at the start, like you normally have a traction map, or depending whatever map they're changing, and then you can change it later for the track, you know. So it kind of depends on the terrain, depends on the start line, depends on a lot of things, and each one of us kind of has their own little setup.
Fair enough. That's a good explainer. Michaela just a little bit lengthy around. I think one of the waypoints she just overran slightly. I've seen, Christina, quite a few people using the handbrake. Is that something that you guys have been doing as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of a handbrake, actually.
Oh, really?
I'd rather not. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, in rally they taught me that it's, most of the times it's losing time unless it's a, like, you know, a left one, like a kind of 180. So I don't normally drive with with a handbrake. I normally just like left foot.
Hyperdrive for Arlen Kotlinski fairly early in the lap.
Oh, nice.
Blasting through these gates here. Going to flick the car one way. That's where we've seen a couple of people drop it. Just about holds on. Going to go now into the first of the water splashes. So through the bump to the left. And now what line does she take? Here as we ride on board. Bottom left is the giveaway for. She's going with the more normal line, I think. Yeah, down the track towards the left-hand side. You can see how wide the gates are.
I wonder if she used that hyperdrive there just to carry more speed into that traction challenge area so she can try and get a really fast lap in there. It doesn't seem to have worked out.
I think probably the corner through the water splash on the way in is too tight to be able to make the difference there. Oh, and she's had another problem now. Is that a half spin? Really going for a ride here. Absolutely hanging on to the JBXE machine. So Michaela's pushing hard here, but right now it's not quite paying off.
Yeah, this is going to be really tough for her. She's due.
Yeah, there's a big compression at that point.
Ah, okay.
Of the track.
What does that feel like when you're in the car?
It's very, very. It kind of like the back of it hits really hard, so you have to be prepared for it. But I think that she entered a little bit like sideways, so it kind of destabilized the whole car.
Yeah, and that carried on for the next few corners, didn't it? You could see her really battling with it, trying to hang on to the car and force it to go in the direction she wanted. You can see the front left headlight is hanging down in the wheel well. We're looking up. Looks like their comms leads are going up.
You have 2 lines here also.
Yeah, go on. Whereabouts?
Yeah, like where she took the right. You see how it's connecting to another line right now? I tried the first one on the first Q1, and now we're all running the right line because it's a little bit faster for the exit of the next corner.
And could it be an option to overtake tomorrow, the left line, if you used hyperdrive? If it's not quite as fast, could you maybe get past? Okay.
For sure, yeah. I think tomorrow is going to be an interesting fight.
I mean, Christine, you guys had a bit of a shocker, obviously, in Q1, so I'm guessing you're expecting that you'll be, you might get into semi-2 if other people have problems. Otherwise, are you thinking crazy race tomorrow?
Yeah, I also, because after the penalization of the flag, probably we will be in crazy race. But if not, hopefully the semi-final would be nice. I mean, right now it's just going for it. We try to do our best in Q2, but of course, you know, when you lose a whole lap in Q1, it's complicated to catch up the time. This is very sketchy area, the downhill that she's doing right now. There's like a huge hole in the middle, so you have to decide if right or left.
Oh, she's just managed to lose the car, so she goes around. As you say, you get into those ruts, you lose the steering. It's heavy to try and correct, isn't it, out there?
Yeah, you saw also Molly, it's the same problem, because if your tire gets in the hole, then you can't really do much. Even though you're not accelerating downhill, it kind of just clips, and then it's hard to just put it back.
She's doing a nice job now, though, just trying to get the car to the switch zone so her teammate can take over, and it'll be Kevin Hansen to get into that hot seat and see what he can do.
So Arlen Kotlinski and Hansen, what are they, plus 47 at the minute, which would put them just ahead of Christine GZ, who's in the commentary box for us in the paddock, and Ollie Bennett as well. They were plus 58. Kevin, of course, will jump in and want to chase down his brother Timmy, and Katie Munnings ahead for Andretti United, but at 30 seconds back, that's going to be quite a big ask as well. So this was on the way into the water splash. Nicely jumped out there, aired it out of the water splash. Sideways here.
The wipers are broken.
Oh, there we go. So Christine thinks the wipers might well be broken, and we can hear her in the changeover zone. And this was the spin, Jenny.
Yeah, it just took too much rotation, unfortunately for her. Managed to find a decent bit to actually turn the car around, but instead of being able to go the right way round, she has to then back it up and go the other way. It does show there's room for manoeuvre.
So Michaela is shouting in a few things to Kevin, just a bit of feedback on what's going out on the track. Kevin's all plugged in. You can see their comms lead goes up into the roof of the car. They've done a reset on the car. Interesting. So they've done a reset on the car. So maybe there was, maybe they're trying to solve the wiper issue. You know, electric cars are a bit like laptops, aren't they now, Jenny? If it's you've got a problem, you just switch it off, switch it on again. Is that not what we all do with everything? You know,
well, I was going to say,
phone.
in fairness, it's not just electric cars.
No.
They do it in Formula One now as well.
Yeah.
So no matter
Cycle
what it is, everything's got a lot of electronics behind it these days, and sometimes it just doesn't play ball.
Yeah, you get a gremlin, you cycle it, so you restart it in the hopes that everything gets wiped and it restarts in the way you want it to go.
Right, let's see what Hansen can do. Just about to get out of the speed zone. Take off the limiter. I see here, yeah, there's a little flap of rubber just dangling around. So this is the wonderful shot where we can see the varying lines and options that you can take. So once again, taking that left-hand side instead of going through the middle section. There we go, wiper just flicking around. That's not going to be much help through the water section.
Definitely not. Hansen plus 49, so it says he's catching, but he's actually lost 4 seconds, so it'll just be that in that last little sector he went okay.
Yeah, right now quicker in this part of the track. So seeing some improvement, as you can see, the absorber's just taking the shock of it and catching. That's what he wants to be seeing. That's what he wants to be doing as well. Another big rut on that right-hand side. That's the bit that's really nasty. Christine, we can obviously see that on the cameras. How much can you see?
Yeah, I can see how it's very nasty, and also there's some compression that from here that you cannot notice, but when you're in the car, you know exactly that if you're like 1 millimeter to the right, you're done.
Yeah, it's so hard for us to read the road, so it's great to have you here and give us a little bit more info on it. Here, it seems you have to keep it out of the gullies either side, so you kind of straddle the car across the gullies. Jump from Kevin in the middle, he's committed through there.
Yeah, that was brave.
So live positioning now.
That was a really good corner.
They're into 4th position as we come across waypoint 9. Getting ready to go into the water section.
So Christine, how much do you watch the other guys? Because we know you guys get the TV feed in the paddock, and we always get the impression that from a kind of a research point of view, you're watching to see what the other drivers do. Is that fair?
Yes, totally. Yes. It's the best like teaching you can get. And obviously, like in this kind of racing that we have all these amazing drivers and super legends, you know, just watching their drive, it just helps you a lot.
Now, I'm watching Kevin while you're chatting, and just looking him go through that water bump. He missed out going through the water, actually. Took it very slowly, but he hasn't got his wipers working. So let's see what he does when he gets to the second water jump, because if you don't have your wipers...
I think he's not going to tackle it.
Yeah, you're in trouble, aren't you? You have to have those wipers working.
Yeah, and it's like, there's a lot of mud, you know, so if it's just water, it's fine because it dries out, but with mud, you cannot clean it, so it's going to be impossible to see. I think it's a good choice to just take it easy.
Yeah, he'll be frustrated having to make that sacrifice, but you've got to have a bit of long-term perseverance, haven't you, and preservation when it comes to this game.
The thing is, it's a minor loss of time compared to getting mud on the screen. You can see the wipers flapping about up on the screen. You can actually see the little hoses as well, the little rubber hoses. So in your road car, you just spray water up from the bonnet onto the screen, whereas in rally cars, off-road cars, you run the hose right up to the wiper and literally pour the water directly onto the screen. But obviously, without any wipers to wipe that away, you won't be doing that either. Here's that split line that Christine was telling us about a moment ago. There's the merge to it, and then into the left-hander. Kevin carrying a lot of speed through there, so you can see why the right-hand line is the best entry point for them. So he's managed to make up a little time here, but actually, I mean, he's fairly close to Christine and Ollie's time here in P3. They're just 58 back. Kevin is 50 back at the moment. Dirt flying up, committed run through to the flag. Each of these positions helps you. Every single point helps in terms of qualifying to try and get yourself further up the field.
Yeah, they were pretty even, actually, when you looked at the first qualifying session. Both of their drivers coming in 4th, respectively, in the times for each of their laps that they take on. So it shows that actually, they did a really good job between them. But what can they do now going down this? What's it like to go down that bit? How much can you see when you're in the car, Christine?
Nothing at all. It's a complete like blind crest. That's why when you track walk, you need to take a lot of information and write it down with your engineer and everything. And as you could see, like Kevin took the left line because there's this huge hole in the middle, which everyone was taking the right line at the beginning. But I think that now, after so many cars passing by, they're starting to go back in the, you know, beginning line.
Fascinating. Right, into the finish it is then, catching all the way. It's an 11:34, 1:06, so slots into third place. Christina, is that hard when you see yourself just slipping away?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, tough.
And I don't have the timings here, so it's even worse.
Oh, no. It's always good to break the news to you. I'm
You're
so
everything
sorry.
I've got.
Those are the points at the moment. Then if you look on the right-hand side, you can see X44 with the qualifying points. So this will pay out actual points at the end of the day, and they're in the top spot at the moment. So in the command center, you can just see some of the teams limbering up. That's the Apt Cupra guys as well. Mark, their press
let's go
van.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, and some information being swapped around there by the different drivers. It is the turn of Stefan Sarazan for Veloce. They want a decent point-scoring haul this weekend. Currently 49 points at the moment for Sarazan. So work to be done.
15 seconds.
15 seconds on the clock. Let's get ready to go racing. Currently sitting in third going into this from qualifying 1. What can Stefan Sarazan do for qualifying 2? Right, we are in a green light. We are away and racing. Stefan Sarazan wants to set a good time. What line is he going to pick? It looks like he's gone far left. Cuts back into the middle line as well, so that's a difference. Everybody trying to find the correct line, the one that they feel will be fastest and most advantageous when it comes to a racing environment tomorrow.
Best qualifying performance by Veloce so far has been P5. So they were P5 in Senegal and in Greenland. Of course, in Saudi, they were P9, and that was after, well, I don't think they even made it through to the, yeah, they didn't even make it through that they rolled the car and it was game over because there was a kink in the roll cage for Sarazan. So, if they could get higher than that today, it would be a great result. And I think looking at some of the cars around them that have had problems, they need to be aiming to be top 3, definitely.
Yeah, and they have everything, I think, up their sleeve to be able to do that, I think, this weekend. Gilmore, once again, deputising for Chadwick. She's got a lot of experience when it comes to this style of terrain. OK, the car might be totally different, but she brings knowledge with her.
Very much. A very experienced rally driver, also done rally cross and some rally raid style events as well. Big commitment to the programme, as we've said multiple times. She's been over here in Europe for the whole of the summer, basically, because she can't get home to New Zealand. But I think she will have turned the heads of a few teams. And now, we know that Jamie Chadwick is a single-seater career driver. Great that she's with Veloce, but, I mean, you'd know better than me, Jenny. What's her career trajectory after W Series? You know, if she retains the championship, could we see Gilmore stay with the team next year if Chadwick's too busy with other things?
I mean, it is a possibility. It all depends what happens this weekend. Chadwick and Alice Powell are both level on points at the top of the standings. Powell leads the way because of countback. Oh, a little bit sideways on for Sarazan. That is a thing of beauty. I absolutely love that. So whether Chadwick comes back, who knows? If she wins the W Series, she's hoping to get enough FIA points to be able to enter one of the single-seater junior categories and show what she can do in a competition, you know, against all the guys. So, you know, big times, big decisions to be made, but she is part of the Veloce stable of drivers under Jean-Eric Verne and the team there. So she's in capable and well respected hands.
Yeah, fantastic. Good to see them with those drivers. And I'd say any drivers who aren't, you know, who do well here, there's a small pool of people who've got expertise now in ExtremeE. And I think if you're a driver and you are looking to move teams, yeah, this is silly season for me now. They should be just making those sly little approaches to other people and saying, look, are you happy with your drivers? Do you think you might want to sign me up instead? That experience, look at the water pouring in through the top of the car. That experience will make a big difference. We're going back to some venues potentially next year, and just having driven the car for a season, if you think some of the drivers have taken 2 or 3 events to get their heads around driving it, it could be a big advantage. Sarazan takes out another camera, 3-0 to the drivers. The cameras, I'm sure, oh, wheel off, front right, wheel off the car.
What a shame. He won't be able to see what's happened, but that absolutely went to pieces. Oh, such disappointment.
And rocks, Jenny, into rocks as well. He could have gone off anywhere, and unfortunately they've gone off into rocks. trying to listen into what he's saying. He, of course, has no idea what's happened.
The wheel is totally loose there on the front
Right steering arm again. So, but did he clip something on the right? I would say not from Sarrazan's reaction in the car.
Oh, look at that. You can just see it pointing inwards. Very unhappy. We'll get a replay of that now to just see what actually went on.
So this is it. Look, a little bit of an opposite right-hand lock coming on. Flicks the car back the other way. No, it's just broken when he's hit the brake. So when he's hit the brake, the forces then go through the front of the car. You load the front of the car up where the weight transfers, and at that point, snaps. So look, he's turning it in. Goes on the brake. Boom. Front right goes straight on. Does he hit the rocks? Yeah, not too badly, though. So, but that's not the point. The point is, just as we were saying that they were looking on for a top 3, they're going to end up here with a DNF, and that's going to drop them right down the order.
So, this is the JBXE team, Michaela Arlen-Kozelinski and Kevin Hansen. And this is a great shot as they begin to enter the Continental Traction Challenge. They go through the water. And this, a real challenge for the drivers to try and understand how best to tackle the track. And you can see going wide to the right in the low blind, as I'm now calling it, in a very different style to how we saw everybody approaching this in qualifying 1.
Car moving around so much on the brakes. From being up on the drone, you get such a better idea of just how much the car is moving around, how bumpy it is. All the drivers we're speaking to are saying it's a real roller coaster out there. It's not just, it's three-dimensional. It's not just about the line that you take through the corners. It's about how you pick your speed and your attitude and your altitude over these bumps.
Yep, tiptoeing through the water here. So this is Kevin Hansen in the car because already windscreen wipers were broken. So he really had to nurse the car, couldn't afford to get any mud, water on the windscreen with the wipers not able to work. So a frustration for him that he had to slow down on 2 occasions. But actually, other than that, car looks good.
It does indeed. And of course today, it's all about at least now there is a route to the final from every different session. So if they end up in the crazy race due to things not quite going their way, things like broken wipers, whatever the issue was, they can still make it through. And you ask the drivers, they'll take a problem in free practice first of all, then they'll take a problem in qualifying, just as long as they make it to the final.
Tell you what, there's a real opportunity as well this weekend because a few of the cars have had technical issues. They've had to move to the end of the line for RXR and for the Chip Ganassi car. So a little bit out of order, and it wouldn't take much, now we've seen a few other problems, for you to creep through, even with a slightly sort of botched time. So this from Hansen and Arlen-Kozelinski could actually see them through into semi-final 2 quite easily.
Very much. Completely agree, Jenny. Yeah, there's it's been an up and down day, and the problems haven't been for, if one team suffers all the issues, they're at the bottom of the pack, but when multiple teams have one good run and one not so good run, then you end up with a leaderboard which is a bit messy. Not so, of course, for the X44 right at the very top. Look at this shot as well, the speed across the plane here. Yeah,
just a reminder that if you finish first, then you'll go through to semi-final 1. Positions 2, 3 and 4 go through to semi-final 2. 5 and 6 join number 1, so that's a pretty tough ask to get out of that one. And then the final 3 cars go into that crazy race for 1 spot in a 5-car final, which should be an absolute thriller. You can see what it's like, the terrain around this Sardinia track. It's going to be all in tomorrow for our 5 cars. So, as you say, Jette Kleinsmith is in the car and she is fully focused. She's done quite a lot of training since she got the call up, and she has worked hard to get herself match ready, as I would call it. Lost a whole load of weight, 5 kilogram weight loss to get herself toned up and ready to go. So let's see what she can do around this 7-kilometer track. Look at the top left, you can see the X. It'll go green. There we go. And that is the sign that it is full speed ahead. Change the settings, change the map, and off you go. She go far left this time, so she's gone as left as you can on that different alternate line, which we'll see if it works for them or not. It certainly worked last time out, because I think it was ExtremeE that did that last time, and that was good for them.
Slightly hesitant down that left-hand side just for a moment, but again, hard for us to tell, was she braking for a bump or was it just because she wasn't sure which way she was going to go? First time she's taken the start, of course, today. Reaches down to change her setting on the dash, and she's looking down at the dash and trying to change something, and it's causing her all sorts of problems through there. So I wonder what it was that she wanted to switch. Twice she tried, and now 4 seconds down. First time round, Jenny, Q1, she was awesome for the whole of the first half of the lap, but second half of the lap, just a couple of little mistakes crept in.
Did you say she pressed the wrong button at one point?
She did. So she, instead of hitting the hyperdrive button, she hit the pit lane speed limit button. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's easily done when you're in the car. And of course, the pit lane speed limit will instantly cut the power, which is the total opposite of what you want. Now, unfortunately, if you do that on a long straight, you times the lost time by a lot more.
Yeah, that's going to be costly, isn't it? So Kleinschmidt really wrestling this car around. Looks like they're having fun out there. And I think we can go to the commentary box where we have, is it Timmy Hansen? Hello? Maybe not. Maybe he just doesn't want to speak to me. You try.
Oh, I'm sure he's there. I'm sure Timmy's there. We'll hear from him in a minute. We'll get him set up at that end. Maybe we've got a little technical which we can iron out, I'm sure. But it'd be good to hear his thoughts on how today's going, especially seeing as they had that interesting time earlier on with Timmy's shoulder. A little lift off the throttle again for Kleinschmidt through here. This isn't a maximum risk run for me, Jenny. That doesn't mean it's slow. And when you look at the issues everybody else has had, if you have 2 clean runs, you don't need to risk it. You're going to be right up there.
Well, out of the 9 drivers that took to the lap last time, Kleinschmidt was 6th on the road. So she's going to want to have to sort of climb back and improve that now. Timmy Hansen, apparently you are there now. Let's try and have another chat with you. Hello.
Hello. Do you hear me this time?
Yeah, we can hear you. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Just watching Kleinschmidt. How tricky it is out there. What are the conditions like now?
Yeah, I think it looks like she's really fighting it. The track is super rough. I think the hardest one we've had so far. And she's a super aggressive driver, Jutta. Super impressive to see her. It looks like what she's been fiddling with might be some adjustment that they might have changed before the run, and she want to switch back or something like that she's not completely happy with, is my guess.
Thank you, Timmy. That's the kind of insight we're looking for. You know where the switches are and what's going on. But talk to us about this morning, mate. You lost your power steering. Oh, Jutta drives through the bushes. Go on, get in.
Yeah, that's a tricky braking area.
Bumpy, is it, or?
No, just very slippery, and it turns kind of right. I actually did exactly the same as her in pre-practice.
Oh, there we go. Good to know. So, yeah, tell us about this morning. We understand your shoulder was popping in and out. That must be painful, mate. How are we feeling?
Yeah, it was when the power steering went in Q1, then it was super hard to turn the wheel. I did my best, but then a few times my shoulder dislocated. It's a problem that I've had since a couple of years, and I'm okay though. I had a few painkillers and I was back on track.
You're popping that back in yourself, Timmy. How do you do that?
I don't know. It's just, I think when the adrenaline kicks in, you kind of don't feel so much anymore. So I was a bit worried though for Q2 because we had some power steering issues again, and that wouldn't have been fun to do that one more time. But luckily it didn't go that bad, and only a few small issues, and made it home.
Timmy, talk to us about tactics this weekend. I know in the run-up to the event you guys said that you might try and not go flat out during qualifying to save the car, because we know this track is rough. Obviously you had a little issue, but so many people have had issues. It's actually really hard to read the qualifying situation where everybody's going to be sitting at the end of today.
Yeah, it's very tight, and some of the guys who did well in Q1 are having issues now. But actually going slow, we have said it, I'm sure all the teams have said it, but that is kind of the hardest thing to do, because in a race car with all that adrenaline, the thing you're used to doing is going absolutely flat out to the limit and pushing yourself to the limit and so on, and having to take a step back from that's even harder than going fast. So it's easier said than done, and I'm sure many people back home will be saying like, oh, but why do they risk it? But can't help it.
I love that. Race is instinct. You just can't take it away, can you? So Kleinschmidt, heavy on the brakes there, quite early as well into the switch zone. How difficult is it, Timmy, to get that right in this zone? It looks like it's cutting up down there as well when you have to brake.
Yeah, it's easy to get greedy, but there is actually a lot of time in that last braking into the pit lane. So you want to be as late as possible, but yeah, the risk is obvious to be too late. Let's see now if they have a clean pit stop.
So that was Yuta reaching down for the button, reached down for it twice, so you just can't get the button when you're going over the bumps like that. Unfortunately, just not able to get to where she wanted. Get it through that and try and find somewhere slightly smoother. So she'll be jumping out the car now. Matthias Ekström is climbing in.
Timmy, is there any advantage in the different bays when it comes to the switch? If you could choose one, would there be one that you would go for?
Actually, stopping early is quite nice, because then you have a bit of time in the pit lane to maybe do the final adjustments on the belt and, you know, get a bit comfortable and get ready for what's ahead. But they are in the last pit bay now, so yeah, as long as it's a clean stop, it will be fine for them also.
Rules changing this weekend as well, aren't they? With regards to the switch and what you've got to have plugged in, the protocols, the belts as well, that's changed. I think a couple of the teams have lost out, most noticeably. I think it's Rosberg X Racing. They've had to change the belts that they use. Have you had any issues with that?
Yeah, I know Molly and Johan, they used 2 separate lap belts that were already adjusted for the different lengths that they wanted. But that's banned for this race, and we have to be fully strapped in before we can hit that drive button and go. So that's the rule, and we have to stay stationary for 45 seconds between switching neutral and switching back to drive. And yeah, everybody's trying to be as short as possible, but without getting a penalty, of course.
Timmy, the lines we can see off the start line there, have you guys got some sort of a heads up? And you might not want to tell us, obviously, I appreciate if the other teams are listening, but have you got some sort of an idea of how crucial you think the grid positions will be tomorrow? And if there is one definitive line that works, or do you think you can make multiple entries off the start work?
It's very hard to say. Like, I don't think any of us has any experience of coming into completely different choices like this. It will probably come down to quite a lot, the starting position and grid play. So people back home who want to vote for their favorite drivers, I think there is still a few hours to do that. I will not say who your favorite driver should be. Just
come on, Timmy, you're all good, mate. You've given up your time to come on the telly and join the commentary box. You're allowed to say that you want people to vote for you. It's fine.
Unless he doesn't.
Yeah, okay. No, I do. Like, both for me and Katie.
I tell you what,
I couldn't go for president, I don't think.
Watching Matthias Ekström through here, unbelievable commitment. He was the fastest in qualifying one out of everybody that did the first lap time. And tell us a little bit about his driving style, what he's doing in that car, and how impressed you are, maybe, if you are by him, Timmy.
Yeah, he's very precise. He did a very good Q1 run, and he has a good road position here. He's going late, so late starters have kind of a little bit cleaner road, a bit like we see in rallies as well. It looks like he has another aggressive, you know, measured run. He hasn't put a foot wrong so far. He does the Seb line in this area too, I see. And but Seb, I also took Seb's line after seeing his run here in Q2, but I wasn't able to go as fast as him. You know, he still has that advantage of having wrecked it, and I just had to go into it blind and hope I gain some time.
Will you do it again, Timmy? Because it does look to be quick. I mean, you know, he's got extra with a spin. He manages not to roll the car, but now there's so much dust he can't see which way he's going. Pops out, he's going to try and figure out where the road is. Rejoins, looks down at the wheel. So that was
that exactly is the risk of taking a new line.
Yeah, because you don't know how the car's going to react over it.
Exactly, and he must have been caught out. There is a big bump in there, somewhere in the grass. It's easier to see from the main track, but being in the grass there that Seb is, it's hard to spot it.
Very uncharacteristic, and as you say, one of the pitfalls of not having been able to go through this properly and work out what you're going to do. I'm assuming everybody's just reacting to what Loeb did on his run and having to just go for it and try it out there. That's the line maybe Ekström won't take when it comes to tomorrow.
Yeah, must be. Here is another tricky section. It's a very fast left. It should be flat, and there is a long straight here. It's a lot of lap time in getting good speed and not lifting over these blind crests. But it's hard because, you know, you put a foot wrong and you're off. That's where I had my crash in pre-practice. And I do think he's still making a good run apart from that one mistake. The track and the car is super tricky on these bumps, and yeah, he was just caught out there. Here is a big cut. This is a very rough section that he's coming into now. Turn left, cut inside the bush here, and a few other bumps, trying to cut the track on the right side here before aiming left. There's like a bush. So first here he cuts, and then there's a bush you see right ahead. You want to be just by the side of that, flat out over this bump that he is, and he gains a lot of speed down this straight now.
Brilliant analysis, Timmy, thank you. And now he uses the hyperdrive. This is somewhere where me and Jenny had thought that that might be on. A good place to use it, you think?
Yeah, I think there are a few places that you can use it. There is not that obvious one place because all the straights are fairly short, and coming into that long straight, we're already at quite high speed. Yeah, everyone's trying out a bit, I think, for tomorrow to have it on the best possible place.
Well, thanks very much. You can see ExtremeE coming towards the finishing line now. Wonder what the time's going to be. At the moment, it's predicted that they'll slot into third place just behind you, Timmy. So catching all the time. Let's see. Comes through the line, and it's 11:32.565 into third spot.
Nice, good job with that spin to be that fast. I'm happy though, like that he came in behind us. But no, a good drive by them.
Good result for you guys in Andretti United, Timmy. You were P7, obviously, in the first session with the issue, but where you are now at the moment, looking at the qualifying points on screen, you're sitting in fourth. Would you prefer to be in semi-1 or semi-2? This is a replay of Ekström's problem, so he comes through big toughs across. Oh, as the rear end of the car got kicked up really high. On the gas instantly, trying to spin the car around, but then so much dust that he can't quite see where he's going, and you see him pop out from the dirt and on the far side trying to figure out exactly where the track is. This is where he realizes and pulls it back onto the line. Another look at it.
Yeah, replay from outside. Yeah, you can just see the back kicks up. One of those unfortunate little bounces. No for future, and everyone else will have been watching that as well and will know the pitfalls, but a really super fast time regardless of that. Impressive from ExtremeE. Oh, look at that, just battling to even keep your hands on the wheel. Where am I? He's thinking, help. Where's the track? Where's the road gone? Get out of that dust bomb. And out we go. Good job.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Segi TV, Chip Ganassi Racing on the line. They had a shocker in Q1, a DNF. So Kyle Leduc didn't even get a lap in. Sarah Price didn't get a lap in either. She retired halfway through.
15 seconds.
It is Kyle who is sitting on the start line now. We know how fast Kyle and Sarah are. They've got to get a change in their luck. Is it finally going to come now here in Sardinia?
And it's green for go. Let's see what Kyle Leduc can do out here. Let's see what line he takes. Just straight through the middle then.
I've been looking at that, Jenny. I honestly, genuinely wondered about that. Why not? Particularly as we've seen people have offs. Where they've had their offs, they don't then think, oh, I must get back to the track safely. They literally drive through the undergrowth. And I was kind of wondering, why haven't more people just sort of mullered their way through that first sector? And Kyle, well, of course, it was Kyle Leduc who did it, wasn't it?
I was going to say, if anyone was going to do it, it would be Kyle. Interesting, in the box, we've got Chip Ganassi, but also in the command centre next to him, Mike Hull, who's part of the IndyCar team, and into strategy and tactical manoeuvres. And I wonder if that's something they've come up with together, sitting there going, right, strategically, how can we get the best out of this? Go straight through the middle.
I also wonder if strategically they came up with a strategy to ask for a little bit more time to fix the car, which I think is what RXR have done as well. Now, I could be totally wrong there, but for me, neither of the cars was badly damaged enough to need the extra time, but I would strategically, oh, we need some extra time, I'd want to watch the other people. I think it's a brilliant move.
Look at front end cam. This is a great shot for you to get a real good idea of what the cars are going through, what the drivers are doing. Kyle Leduc, fantastic to watch for the Chip Ganassi team. The extreme hill coming up. It is around 100 meters away. We can see exactly what they're going to do. A little bit of air taken. Nicely done by Kyle. Such a fascinating driver to watch. So different from the style of the, very measured, fine, precision driving.
They're all using the handbrake in that right-hander that you can see just behind him on the track map, the tight one on the green line. It's actually more of an open hairpin. I've seen it a couple of times on the drone, and having seen it from the drone, it's more than a 90 right. It's more like a 120, not a 180, but almost all the way round. And so good move by him. Now, if anybody's going to try for that super sector through here, that's what it was called. It's now the traction challenge. He's trying that wide line, isn't he? But when you saw how committed Loeb was through here, Jenny, interesting, Loeb's clearly had a look at it before, hasn't he? It's been a plan that's been there for a little while.
Yeah, this could be a section which you've got to take extreme care under. If you want to take the normal section, you can see it's gone a little wider than some of the others have, trying to take the Loeb line again and do something a little bit different. The wheel's spinning, not getting too much traction, but a heavy thump into the water and out the other side. So this, all important, they need to get this car round. They have no time on the board at the moment. Kyle Leduc, good show out there.
Yeah, they'd love those 5 championship points, wouldn't they? And there he goes into P2, just 0.83 off. So, but it's still on, Jenny. For me,
that's his first shot.
Yeah, that's a recce run. Expect him to get a lot closer next time round. That was a great effort by Kyle Leduc. No one's been within. Well, look, it's, was it Timmy, I think, who was 2.29 off. So they were still outside 2 seconds away. But now we're within a second. So the teams have got it figured out. Maybe, again, the strategy, been looking at it, is 5 points. Is it worth the risk? Yes, it is.
Hyperdrive now on as we see that cut where you can take the lower or higher line, hugging the waypoint flag, going wide through there. You can see this section where the drivers have been playing around with the line that they want to take, trying to get the most out of it and catching all the time. Leduc having a terrific drive out there.
He's catching Sebastian Loeb's time as well. Remember, Loeb, the absolute benchmark, has been on imperious form here this weekend. Leduc going straight through some more undergrowth when we were on board with him. Again, he gains a little bit. This is very nip and tuck between him and Sebastian Loeb. Great run here, and Sarah Price, I'm expecting to attack equally hard.
Yeah, interesting to see the cars taking more of a left-hand lane now. Before they were right, holding onto that scrub and the brush just on the right-hand side. Now, tracks changing, evolving all the time. Through to the blind summit, down the hill. This is where Molly Taylor spun earlier. No dramas for Leduc as he gets the car, hopefully, safely back to Sarah Price. This is looking like a fine run at the moment from Leduc.
Yeah, really good. Just lost 3/10 on the run down the hill there. Backs the car into the right-hander absolutely beautifully, right out to the limit. You can see the tyre marks from other people, and that's another good reason to be running late in the lap. It gives you an idea of what the track limits are, how far are people going. There, different line, just slightly straighter across into now the braking zone. For it was 2.4 down. Let's see as he crosses the line. 3.3, so maybe a second off on the braking, but 3 seconds is putting Sarah Price well within reach of being able to do this. A P1 and a P9, Jenny, would be interesting to see where they end up in qualifying, wouldn't it? But they've got to get the P1 done first.
Yeah, and this is where the pressure comes. For Sarah Price, she knows what's at stake. She's got to get a time on the board. That is absolutely crucial for them if they're to get themselves into any sort of semi-final other than the crazy race. Just checking front right tyre at the moment. So that's interesting, the technicians there. Well, Kyle will then help Sarah just buckle in, make sure she's secure in the car. It was very disappointing for her earlier on today when she couldn't complete the lap. Had a failure, and that caused them to end without any running for Kyle. So Kyle did a really good job, bearing in mind that's his first proper aggressive run.
Certainly is. But Kyle as well saying earlier, that's definitely had a little inspection at the front end. Sarah going to pull those belts down tight. Yeah, buddy. Getting into drive. And here goes Sarah Price. We're going to talk with the man himself, the legend, Chip Ganassi, who's in the command centre.
I'm in the command centre with Chip Ganassi, team CEO and owner of Chip Ganassi Racing. Chip, after a DNF in Quali 1 and then suspension problems, we're now in Quali 2. That was a brilliant run from Kyle. How important is it that Sarah manages to get a good time?
Well, it's obviously important we get our time. You know, just not any time. Any time is good for us right now. You know, we've had a few gremlins here and there, and we just want to get it. We just want to get a complete weekend in right now.
How proud are you of your team managing to get that vehicle fixed and ready for Quali 2?
Yes, obviously it's been back in Saudi with issues there and issues in Senegal and Greenland. The team's done a great job. I couldn't be more proud of who's doing it and how they're doing it. And now it's just a matter of putting a weekend together.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Putting a weekend together, absolutely crucial now for Sarah Price and Kyle Leduc. Listening to her on the podcast, the official ExtremeE podcast, she was saying about how difficult it's been, just one thing after another. They've had bad luck along the way. There have been mistakes as well, but now this is her moment. She needs to buckle down.
The trouble is, Jenny, the pressure builds, as you've already said, so that, you know, you've had the issue this morning for Sarah. They know they've had 3 weekends where things haven't gone according to plan. This is, with everybody else having little issues here and there, a really strong result now. We'll see the move right up, but it was Sarah, of course, who had the problem this morning, and it niggles you, and so she's just got to relax. She's got this. She's brilliant. But try telling yourself that when you're in the midst of it and the pressure's on, and that's what half of sport is about for me. Whatever the sport, is dealing with the mental pressure of going up against your opponents, and when the odds are really stacked against you, how do you come out and fight? So come on, Sarah, get out there and smash it.
Yeah, I think they know as a team what they can do. They know their potential, and it must be so frustrating not being able to deliver that time and time again. But this is so far turn 8, this is where the handbrake can be deployed. I don't think Sarah did that on that occasion, but she's got a wealth of experience. She's very talented. She's very clued into her racing. So this is a great opportunity for her now to go out there and just shake those demons off, eh?
For me, looking at the times, P3 is easy. You know, she won't lose as much, you know, barring any issues. I think
don't say it.
Well, yeah, I know. We've been cursing. Maybe we should just sit silently for the entire of their run, Jenny, and stop messing up for them. But
let's not do that. She's taking a midline here.
Yeah,
she's making her own line.
And then back it, but safety would be okay here. It would be okay if they could. The P3 is very much on. But in terms of P2 and Munnings, that's looking very close to Munnings and Hansen. Look, gaining a little bit of time now. They're running further down the order because Sarah took that wheel off this morning and the team requested more time to repair it. They've got their tactical expert with them from an IndyCar, and Jenny, I'm still saying that running later in is a better bet.
Yeah, I think you know what your challenge is. You know the times that everybody else has posted. You know those people who haven't been able to post a time, for example. So, yeah, you know your competition. Rosberg X Racing, the last of our cars still to run, will come after this car. But at the moment, still catching that number in green, very visible, bottom right. She's in second place at the moment. And this Segi TV Chip Ganassi car in the sunshine in Sardinia, just sliding around on the sand. That's a lot of S's.
4 seconds back from, 4 seconds up at the moment on Andretti United. So that's going on the gap at the end. So Andretti United at 18.7 off the back of X44. So now it's coming towards 3. You're looking at a reverse gap here. They're not going to challenge X44. It's about whether or not they hold on to that P2. Now, hyperdrive for Sarah Price. See at the next gate whether or not that's gained any time. Oh, it's so close, isn't it? Not long to hang on now, but got to push towards the end of the lap.
Yeah, I love the way the car moves around. Drifting can be employed here, and they can really have some fun out there. And yeah, we're talking about having fun. Okay, this is serious business. They need to get a time on the board. But out there, drifting, nice conditions, the sun's shining. It's very hot, you have to say. And in that cabin, she's going to be feeling that. But she's around 3/4 of the way around this lap. She's just got to nurse it home and do a good job.
Nice words, wasn't it, from Chip? Look, I'm proud of the people in this team. I'm proud of what they do and the way they do it. I thought that was great. And again, that's the mark of somebody who's led a team for a long time. Just knowing when to say the right things. Again, you know, the whole you've got this thing, just chill, you're all right. Into that braking zone where Taylor had the issue this morning. Carries nice speed over the crest, good line down the hill. Back on the throttle again now. Oh, 16.0, it's going to be so close. Is it going to be P2 or is it going to be P3 for Segi TV Chip Ganassi Racing? Just a couple of corners to go. Yeah, doing a fine job as the dust flies up. You can see exactly where she's been. Coming around this corner, how wide will she take it? She knows that the end is in sight. And now she's just got to hold on, full focus. Look at the concentration in her eyes, the arms held rigid, but with enough flex. And there we go, through the finishing line. She's managed an 11.02, 6.08 into second place. Great job. 1.5 seconds ahead of Andretti United. Fantastic.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Nico Rosberg to the right of your screen, the 2016 Formula One World Champion, and now the man in charge of RXR and the team leading the way in the standings, but that lead is getting ever slimmer, ever decreasing.
15 seconds, 15 seconds.
The team asking if they could have a little bit more time to fix the damage after Molly Taylor took that full spin on the aerial section. So you can see they've replaced some panels there, and it's Molly to go first again. There must be a few butterflies, a few nerves there. Lights go green, and she is away. Now, what line will Taylor take? Far left, not doing a Leduc through the middle.
This is the favoured line. Christopherson thinks this line is a little bit quicker. That's what he told us. So this time they've gone this way. They didn't last time, if you remember. They went the middle line off the start when Johan took it. This time Molly's taken the start and has gone over to the left-hand side. So that's the one they think is faster. And tomorrow, how that gets picked is anybody's guess. Join us for the semi-finals and you'll be able to find out too.
Yeah, it was quite impressive, really, earlier on. Despite that roll, it was still a fairly decent time for the team. Christopherson going third fastest of all the people that took the first stage drive. So there's still room for improvement, and there's points on the table. Remember, whoever goes fastest today picks up 12 championship points, so there's a lot at play.
Late on the brakes there, a little bit wide of where she would like to be in the corner, but not too much time lost. I've been saying certainly that I wasn't sure whether or not they needed the extra time. Interestingly, they haven't managed to re-decal the car. You know, they've got the spares from the central spares area. Remember, the cars are all the same, so if you don't have the spares, you can go and get some from the manufacturer who will be there with the bits. And yeah, we can see the decals haven't been put back on the car, Jenny, so maybe not, but I still suspect tactics.
Well, when it comes to the masters of being able to make moves when they need to, this team are pretty good at it. So, at the moment, lying in 5th place. They'll look to elevate that as they go through the different sections. Remember, also 5 points up for grabs through the traction challenge. Starts at the water challenge and ends at the next water challenge, which are getting ever, I think, shallower. Less water comes up when you go into those now. Drying out.
Change of settings there for Molly. She reached down and just changed something on the car. Into that lovely right-hander, flick the car back the other way. Now they come down and it's braking. Expect the wide line to the left here, drop in. There's only one dip. Now, if you take the line to the left-hand side, sitting in the car, there are 2 bumps. So you go in, dip, bump, out the other side. If you go out wide, although the bump is wider and deeper, it's a single compression, and that upsets the car a bit less.
Taking the traditional line through here that we've seen everybody else do, and I think for a driver who isn't quite sure, maybe they haven't done the recce, then that's the better option to take. I think tomorrow could be totally different, but they'll be forced in a multi-car situation to go out wide anyway.
Yeah, and I completely agree. What Molly needs here is a good run without any issue. She needs to come back in with her confidence, not go and try a line that she hasn't tried all weekend, have another issue and knock your confidence again. Just go out there, do a solid job, bring the car back for Christopherson, you know, and try and climb up the order. They were 6th, weren't they, after Q1? So a little roll for Molly. Wasn't really that much time lost. So overall, were they taking it a little bit steadier? Are they taking it steady now, or will they push a bit harder?
We've seen, haven't they, through the weekends of the Prix, that they have worked out a way that they run. And I think all the teams have done that. You know, some teams have very strong preferences of how they approach a weekend. And Nico Rosberg, when he won the F1 World Championship, he did it on strategy, on psychology, on tactics, and on reliability as well. But it's inherent in this team. I
saw Johan shortly after Senegal, and I was like, oh, mate, you know, you guys weren't quite so quick in qualifying in Senegal. And he looked at me, he smiled, he goes, you didn't get it, did you? I thought, what do you mean? He said, we knew that with people having the issues over the bumps, he said we wanted to save it for day 2. Brilliant. And I think this is the thing, Jenny, I was saying earlier on about homework. Yeah, for me, RXR and X44 came into this series best prepared with the right tactical approach. When are the maximum points gained? You know, you don't want to bin it on day 1. What have you lost? Everything. Try to make it to the final, you know, play the odds, and that makes a big difference. Now, they approach 24. This is the point where Molly rolled last time out, 24 to 25. You've got to go down the hill. It's a blind summit, and it's, if you've had an incident like that, does it stay with you? Have you just got to shake it off? No, you've got to slay the demons a little bit. So Molly's braking up to this section. She'll want to be late and smooth on the brakes. She'll want to come over the crest on the trajectory she wants. Here she goes now, in control of the car. A couple of stabs. You could see there the light came on 3 times in the braking zone. So she's gone 1, 2, 3, passed over it, and now that's it. You've got to delete it, Jenny. It's got to go. It's easier said than done for anyone, and these guys are way better at this than we would be, and still it's in there. You've got to get rid of it. Okay, so the handover just about to take place in the switch zone. It's Taylor to Christopherson. Christopherson will be the last driver to take to the track today in our qualifying.
And as we've already said, points on offer. We've also got that traction challenge. I wonder if he'll go for it and try and get the 5 points away from Loeb and Gutierrez. At the moment, it's Loeb who has set the fastest time. So hard on the brakes and into switch.
34.9 down at the moment, so that would slot them in between Andretti United and Abt Cupra, based on Kristoffersson holding that gap. I think Kristoffersson will narrow the gap a little bit, but if he's going to narrow it up to P3, he's got to go, what, some 16 seconds quicker on this second lap than, who was it? It was Katie Munning. So he will have a crack at that, definitely.
You know what's coming, don't you? So they've been struggling a little bit. We heard from Timmy Hansen earlier, confirming what we'd said, in that they've got different straps in the car. There's a huge difference in height now between the two drivers, so very difficult for them when they get in. Just having a little listen. So they've been forced to go a little long on the 45-second hold. That's the minimum, but they've got to be strapped in correctly. So important to do this cleanly, safely, and then get away as quickly as you can.
What's interesting about the lap straps, Jenny, is the way these belts are adjusted. So the shoulder belts, you will have seen multiple times now. You pull down on, they're very obvious, they're very easy to reach. You can do it yourself. You cannot adjust a lap belt in a competition car yourself. You just can't reach it with enough force. You have to pull them quite hard, and pulling up isn't the same as pulling down. So they had two sets of belts, one for Molly, one for Johan. They're different heights. Molly sits further forward, so actually her belts are probably longer because she's sitting further forward in the seat. Now they have to adjust them, either tighten them for Johan, lengthen them for Molly, and so that's where they're losing the time on the changeovers. We didn't see whether they went over the 45 or not.
I think they had, it looked like Johan had his hand over the button, so maybe they were just spot on, but I know it's something that they've been struggling with. And not something that they can really practice too much either, unless you sit them in a normal conventional chair and try and replicate it, but probably don't advise that.
It's waiting for the timing screen to update when he gets to the next set of flags. That's our next timing line up here. He's going to come through the left and the right and rejoin the standard track. 31 down and gaining already. So he needs to get back to within, if he can get to 18 seconds, he's up with Hansen and Munnings. If he can get to 17 seconds, he's up with Price and Leduc. So I'm expecting maximum attack here, but it's got to gain a lot of time.
Yeah, and if anyone can do it, it's Kristoffersson, because he will have watched everybody else go out. Every single driver, he's had the good fortune of sitting there and going, right, how are they doing it? How do I want to do it? Do I want to take the Loeb line? Do I want to take my own line? So he'll have used all that information with the team, with Nico Rosberg, and gone, right, this is what I want to do.
And that's what I mean about being slightly tactical. Yes, there was some work to do on the car, but they were first out last time. Now, to get the opportunity to watch everybody in Q1 and then watch them all again in Q2, yeah, that's not a trick I'm missing.
That's very astute. Right, so catching again, what can they do through this tricky section here? It's going to be a very tough call for them. Through 8 on the handbrake once again.
Yeah, that's that open hairpin right. Now, is Kristoffersson going to go for the super sector line, or is he going to play it safe? This is that fastest sector, which you'll see from previous events. It's now the traction challenge with our tyre partner Continental. He's going to drop in here. Watch for the wide line. Let's see how committed this is. So into the water, it's very committed. That's what we saw from Loeb, if you remember. The jump in when he went for the line. And he goes wide, so Kristoffersson is going for it, and he uses the hyperdrive as well. So absolutely going for the 5 championship points. Remember, if they can take it off Loeb, it's not just 5 points for them. It's 5 points away from their title rivals.
Yeah, this is a key moment in the championship for this weekend, but look, a little sideways action. I don't think that was 100% correct from Kristoffersson, just getting caught up there. He's going absolutely out flat, chat. He really wants to get these points.
He's taken the Loeb line through there as well. He went to the right-hand side through the undergrowth. His eyes are absolutely wide as he comes through, jumps in and out of the water splash on the exit now, through the exit flags, and let's see what that time was like. Are they going to go to the top? Oh, 0.68! So close, but not quite enough. So 5 points at the minute, still going the way of X44. That would close it right down. They know they need it, don't they?
Wowzers, that was a golden opportunity, because tomorrow when there's other traffic on track, it's going to be much harder. So have we seen that moment pass away? Are those 5 points definitely going to get to Loeb? It looks like it. Look at the commitment from this. Kristoffersson absolutely absolutely gunning it.
He's down to plus 17 already, so he's only got to gain another couple of seconds and it's going to see them go up into P2. And remember, despite that roll in the first session, they were only P6 then. It wasn't a total disaster. A P6 and a P2 might see them through into the top 3 with some of the issues other people have had.
The reserve that was there before, Andrew, that's gone now, hasn't it? This is total commitment to it. It's not leaving anything out there.
No, he's lit the fuse big time. The fuse has been lit. There will have been a discussion about it. Definitely they were after the 5 points in the traction challenge. Oh, kicks the rear end of the car really high up. I just wondered for a second there with that camera angle whether or not they'd... Oh, no! Oh, we're right. Has he got a problem? So now he's going to have to try and hang on. There's definitely something. Is it rear wheel? Rosberg's looking at the screen just as we are. He's probably got the same small monitors we've got. No, the car seems
puncture,
okay.
Front right puncture. I can see it from here. It's deflating at the front right, so he's going to have to nurse this back. Hope it doesn't delaminate, which would be that the entire wheel just goes off on one, but it looks like there's more of a problem. You can see the dust coming up from that car. Doesn't look right or happy.
18.7. This is still on. They could still get the P2. It seems to me that it's half down. He's just holding on to it. It's a slow deflation if it is one. It's the left-handers he's got to watch out in. Braking and backing the car in. This one's fine because all the pressure's on the outside wheel. Still aiming for that top 3 position. Christoph's going to blast down towards the line now. Just a couple of gates to go. It's 18.7 was the gap to Andretti. United, it's 17.2 up to Leduc and Price over the line. They get P3. So he just misses outlook on Leduc and Price. So close. What a drive without the puncture, Jenny.
Wowzers. It's just too aggressive, too much at risk, but he managed to get it back. What an impressive drive that was. He looks absolutely wired.
Oh, it had to be done, though, didn't it? It had to be done. Results down the right-hand side. X44 are the top qualifiers again, but RXR have come back to just 1 place behind, and that means they only lose 1 point in the championship fight to their arch rivals. What a brilliant session. What a relief for RXR.
What a fantastic qualifying. Let's take a look then at the picture after we've seen both sessions. And in first place, it is X44, our Saturday specialists. Second, RXR. And in third place, Abt Cupra. A cracking session.
Absolutely brilliant, isn't it? A point closed down in terms of that championship fight. X44 taking their 4th TQ in a row. Is this finally going to be the weekend they take the win tomorrow? If they can, they'll close that gap down just a little bit more again to RXR. But so many quick teams here. It's been a real up and down day. You can see that from the qualifying points on the right. Lots of people with 1 good and 1 bad session. This is how it's played out. And of course, down at the bottom end of the table, Excite Energy Racing. We've got Veloce and we've got JBXE as well. So those guys are going to be into the crazy race tomorrow. That's their championship points as well at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, Andretti United, then Segi, Chip Ganassi and Acciona Science. You can see the points they're collecting. Abt, Cupra, RXR and X44 taking the big points this weekend. So they've done well for themselves so far, but still plenty more on the table. Let's hear from the man in charge of RXR. It is, of course, Nico Rosberg.
Nico, an unlucky roll for Molly in Q1. Johan in Q2 looked like a right-hand puncture, but pushed so hard he narrowly missed out on those extra points to X44. But what an exciting Q2. And
yeah,
now pole position, semi-final 2.
It's been an up and down roller coaster day, but I think for most teams out there, I mean, unbelievable. And now it's really cool to see though, Molly did such a fantastic job now in the last run, and Johan as well, and to put us P2 for the day is, I mean, really excellent. Even with the bad luck of the steering having a problem this morning, and that putting Molly into that off because there was an issue with the steering. So considering all in all, I think it's really a decent day for us, good day, and all to play for still.
And first season of ExtremeE, you guys have come into this race as championship leaders. It looks like the championship is going to go down to the wire. How brilliant has it been as the CEO to sit back and watch?
Well, it's been nice for me to be like on the other side. You know, I've always been the driver myself. Now I'm on the other side, so it's exciting. Even now, like trying to support a little bit with what we're doing, like strategy. You know, because it's so touch and go all the time with how much risk you're taking out there, because of also some little bit reliability things that with the car, because the track is so extreme, and so to manage all that. But the team did a really good job.
Thank you so much.
They did indeed do a really good job. This was that huge moment for Johan Kristoffersson towards the end of the run, but nothing could stop him from chasing down that lap time right at the end of the day here and just managing to eke it back out and make sure that the gap to X44 in front just wasn't too much. All to play for tomorrow.
Now, counted in is another way ExtremeE is hoping to help make changes, whether it be, you know, switching out meat, going to plant-based or walking a bit more. And at the moment, the steps, X44 taking a lead. They were level yesterday. They're now leading on 427 points. And these are some of the drivers having a look at the carbon stores, blue and green carbon being affected. And they're down there snorkeling away, having a great time, but doing great work as well and highlighting an important cause.
Well, we're using the racing to highlight those important causes as well, and today it has been a roller coaster. I think Nico Rosberg said roller coaster himself, didn't he? Up and down, but our two championship leaders are right there at the top of the table, X44 and RXR. And I tell you what, if they slip up, there are plenty of teams behind with the pace to make it count.
Yeah, there really are. We're going to have 5 cars racing tomorrow when it comes to the final, but plenty to be done before that to secure themselves a place in the top slot. Plenty of points on offer as well, so whatever you do, don't miss it. More action to come. It is the Island X Prix, and we can't wait for the racing tomorrow.
Attack this lap. Check the flag, check the flag.